Welcome, guys. Welcome. Just waiting for some viewers to pop in. Welcome to another trucking show, YouTube Live, as we do every Sunday, talking truckers. Here's our first viewer popped in. Awesome. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful, fantastic Sunday. It's absolutely gorgeous here in Salt Lake City today. It's going to be a very nice high of almost 80, like nearly 80 in the 70s. I got a chance to come out and grab a cup of coffee and hang out with some friends. Let's fix the camera. And at a car show, I'll make sure I don't break anything here. There we go. Maybe that's better. So I got to do that at a car show, specializing everything in the Utah car scene for Mitsubishis. And oh my God, with the stuff that I saw, and I had some friends out there. Tex Williams in the house. Howdy. Absolutely. Thank you for stopping by. You had a great week, Tex. You had a good one. And again, I think you're lined up for next week being really good too. So I don't want to jinx it, but I think that's how it sounds like. Adam Buser. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. How we doing this Sunday, guys? I'm doing fantastic. Got to go look at some crazy cars. I got some video. That's what I should have done, is I popped it in here and showed it to you guys. Really cool stuff. It's insane what they're able to do with these little 2-liter engines, man. There was a guy with, just a daily driver, 800 horses. The car that my friends got, it's got like over 1,200 horsepower, and it's stroked out to a 2.3, I think, or something like that. But it's just insane power, just absolutely insane to think that let's see here, that to think that you could put that much power out of a tiny little gas engine. So really cool stuff. We got some cool stories for you guys today. Alex will not be joining us, but we just kind of waiting in for folks to pop in, to kind of gather. We got a good number of stories out here, just like the thumbnail talks about, and some other things that the thumbnail does not talk about. So again, thank you so much for stopping by. Tex, excellent to hear. Can't wait to knock it out of the park next week. Absolutely. I think you guys will actually like this week's stories, because I think this might be some telltale signs of what, some positive news for the market. And hopefully the guys, not even hopefully, I'm sure the guys will take advantage of that, as they have with this little blip. I really think it was a blip on a radar with the prices having gone up this past week, only because of the Blitz week. But I think that we have other stories that will also show you, guys that, will show that rates might be coming up. We'll start off the very first one with a story, our main story, with the C.H. Robinson being downgraded. Now, what this actually means is, there's like Moody's index. There's in this case the S&P Global, and they're basically rating companies, and they rate like, for example, the United States, its credit worthiness. Mr. King, trucking prices continue to fall. So for the foreseeable future, it is thought that trucking prices are looking to fall. However, because of what we're going to actually talk about in the next portion, there's a lot of crazy weather stuff that's planned, that's expected this year. And I actually took some handwritten notes here towards a little bit later that actually, unfortunately is going to create damage and havoc and all the stuff, but it's also going to turn around and actually increase prices for the trucking industry. It's really sad that we have to look for bad news and things like that to actually drive prices up. So I really think prices will go up, but again, they have been going up. I've been during the winter time, I was really shooting for end of April to May, and really expecting that to be the start. And so that's where we're at right now. We did see an increase. I don't think that, again, I thought that wasn't because of like my prediction was right. I think it's more of something that couldn't be predicted. It was just a blip on the radar, because we didn't know at that time in the winter when the CVSA blitz was going to actually be happening. At least I didn't know. Maybe they published the dates, but I didn't actually look at the specific dates that far out. So, I would think that this is a good sign. And some of the things that we got going on in the country, like, so for example, like the United States credit worthiness was actually reduced. That, I believe, was last year. We still have good credit with the world. But in this case, we have the same thing happening with C.H. Robinson. Their debt rating was downgraded by S&P Global from BBB plus down to triple B. And this is actually the first downgrade in about 6 years for C.H. Robinson, and it still keeps them as an investment grade credit rating. So they're still considered a very, very strong organization. But I do remember there was a time not long ago when RTS for a period of time would not factor C.H. Robinson loads. So do keep that in mind. Even the big boys get into trouble. Tex Williams, I always like this time of year, folks. Worried about the blitz. I've never been pulled over during this time, and even if you just keep your, if you do, then just keep your truck and logs legal, so you're good to go. It's straightforward, really upfront, straightforward. I mean, if the cops don't pull you over because I know your truck's looking good, everything's clean, everything's in order, and they don't want to really waste their time. They want to focus on the guys where they got the bumper hanging down and the lights aren't working, and so yeah, keep your equipment. That's why the blitz is there. And these things are going to become more and more strict. They're going to become stricter and stricter. The government is going to do whatever they can. Different market forces are going to do whatever they can to force you out of business. Things like Carrier Assure and other independent organizations that charge a membership fee to a certain group to participate and basically set a valuation on your company and the viability of your company in terms of hauling freight for a broker. So in other words, if a broker is making a decision to give you a load or not to give you a load, and a big portion of that decision is reliant on a score by intermediary organization that charges a fee to provide an algorithmic score for someone, we should have the right to make amendments, request changes, updates, etc., 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 revisions, whatever you want to call it. And we do have that right. Unfortunately, since we've made that video and we've posted a blog post that was quite popular about how to increase your credit assure score, Carrier Assure score, a lot of folks got back to me and said, man, we've tried everything. Calling, texting, whatever, not texting, calling, emails, didn't lead to anything. So that, that leaves a very bad taste in my mouth, in that sense, because I just don't want to, it's like, well, why should I be considered F-rated or another carrier F-rated? We have guys who are excellent carriers, very clean, everything. And the owner of the company is exceptional as a business owner. So nothing to complain about. Yet they recently found out he was rated as an F carrier. They couldn't get him loads. So I think that's, you have to make sure to keep your nose clean, make everything. So if there's a blitz, you get pulled over, weigh station, something, any sort of issues, you pass with, flying colors. In the case of C.H. Robinson, the downgrade comes after, despite a very strong first quarter. They were one of the only companies that did really, really well. And S&P Global is concerned that C.H. Robinson's debt levels are too high. Now, this was another reason, again, factoring companies, some of them didn't factor their loads. This is also could be a sign that S&P Global is less confident in C.H. Robinson's ability to meet its financial obligations in the future. So as far as trucking, this could basically mean potentially it could be that for C.H. Robinson, it becomes more expensive to borrow money. That means maybe the good old days of really cheap quick pays might go out the window, might have some increases. They might force, they did let go of a lot of broker agents that they had hired on during the boom. So there's going to be definitely a big move, a lot of shifting within C.H. Robinson and the way that you guys deal with them. It's important to note that C.H. Robinson is an investment grade company. However, this downgrade could be a signal for carriers and owner-operators that C.H. Robinson is taking on more risk. So, if it used to take, just a little bit to get paid, it might take a little bit longer. So just keep that in mind as well. Adam saying, are the prices of goods different on a train versus on a truck going across country? As the price of shipping goods, if that's what you're looking at, the price per ton. So it is much more cost effective to haul freight over train than over truck, hands down, no doubt about it. The problem is it takes forever. The staging is incredibly long. It takes forever to get it loaded. It takes forever to get it unloaded. They won't move LTL and stuff like that. So until they got everything kind of pretty much maxed out, your freight's not going anywhere. That's the reason why like iron ore always moves over train, because there's a lot of it and nobody wants it, and it's very, very heavy. You never see it moving on a truck. I have a story about that. That's why I bring up specifically iron ore. It was a story about, and this is just a story, YouTube, don't ban us for bad words, but this was a story where some folks wanted us to basically smuggle drugs, and they were using iron ore in barrels, which is already strange to have iron ore being transferred over a truck, but they also wanted us to use a specific route through Texas. And this was when we were brand new to the trucking industry, and I didn't know anything basically, and so I ran it by some guys who definitely knew everything about trucking, 40, 50 years in the industry. And I was having a cup of coffee with both of them, and I was talking to them in a coffee shop, and they said, yeah, those are drugs. And they explained the logic behind me. So get this. So the reason they knew it right away is because obviously you don't move iron ore over truck. It's just too heavy, so you use trains. And what had ended up happening was interesting. They wanted a specific route through Texas because they knew that they had X-ray machines that they would use in order to scan your trailer. But they also knew that iron ore would create all sorts of havoc there, and none of the agents would want to be the guy who's going to go empty all these barrels of iron ore, and then not, like, if they don't find anything, they have to now hire a crew to fill all this crap up back in there, get you loaded. It takes forever, and they look really, really bad. So no one's going to want to take responsibility for doing that, so you're likely to just go through. And so that was the explainer. The way we handled the call that day, I kind of acted out a crazy situation on the phone. The guys panicked. They hung up the phone. They never picked up the phone after that. So, that says enough said there, as they say. So, yeah. So price per ton, definitely, Adam, it's definitely lower, but there's like perishables. You're going to have a hard time moving perishables. There's going to be stuff like, like, for example, extra lumber, prepping, staging for, market movements for certain housing booms or for construction, stuff like that. They can bring stuff in that they're willing to wait on. But trucking, no, that's the way to go. You need it now. You need it right away. You put it on the back of a truck. So, C.H. Robinson's gonna get down. Hasn't been downgraded again. You're gonna sense some changes in pricing. They're gonna have to bring up their profitability. They're a publicly traded company, and they're gonna have to make sure that their shareholders are just as happy as they were, a week ago. Basically, keep moving forward, basically. Guys, real quick, I'm going to show you something here. Thank you again for stopping by. Lots of viewers, really appreciate it. If you get a chance, hit the like button, guys. Please do so. Really would appreciate that. I see the difference because it's like within a few minutes, YouTube responds, and then we just get this flood of viewers. So I would definitely would help a ton. Let me hide my mug here for just a moment because I want to show you our website. So guys, I will be putting in some changes and things like that, but just the homepage alone will give you guys a really good idea about what it is that we do. It's two services: dispatch service for carriers, and then we also work with leased on owner operators. In both cases, you end up working with the very same dispatchers. You work one-on-one in both respects. If you need more information, we have it all right here, Truck Dispatch. You can click on that. It will give you some information, some testimonials, and very straightforward questions about minimum charges, how much we charge, any additional fees, contracts, etc., etc. Once if that answers your questions, you have some interest, fill in this form right here. We'll it'll create a little sheet. It'll send it over to us, and then we'll get in touch with you. Same thing for owner operators. You can just do the same thing. Go in a services menu there. Very similar in a mobile device. Gives you an idea. We're 100% owner operator fleet. Very experienced dispatchers in both cases. 87% to you. Talk to Kevin. It might be better than that. It might be worse than that at this point, but it's definitely going to be running with the market. If certainly below market rates, because we don't offer bells and whistles, and you end up getting basically a very bare bones type of a program. Same thing here. Like it, fill out the form. Kevin will get in touch with you. Or down here, there's also some frequently asked questions here that you guys can get your questions answered. So enough of that, guys. I'm going to pull back out here. Let's see if we can. Maybe this is better. All right. Well, the next story, looks like we don't have too many comments or anything like that. Again, you guys can call in 801-448-6363. We'll get you on the live show here. Questions, comments, anything like that. We'll get that taken care of. Alex has been working with some folks to actually change up the layouts and kind of what we got going on here, because this was kind of a temporary setup. It's nice, but we want something better. So, we'll be working with that. We're hoping to get the chat back up. And in fact, let's do this. I'm going to put it right here. And that way we'll be able to see the chat here live, things like that. So the show will get better. So Adam is saying, is it cheaper to deliver the goods to a rail yard versus driving across state lines to a destination out west? Well, I mean, it depends where the product is and where the rail yard is, and that's going to vary every single time. But in terms of the cost of shipping over rail versus trucking, rail is considerably cheaper, definitely, but a lot slower. So we got that going on. Well, the next story we got going on here today is kind of a bittersweet one in a sense, because it means things have to go crappy, but for trucking, it's going to be a positive thing. It's going to be a boon for truckers, and that's extreme hurricane season, and that's the one that I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit today. So an extreme hurricane season could disrupt the freight market and cause rates to swing in favor of carriers. We'll take it. We're very happy with that, but do understand a lot of times it's going to be like Florida and the southeast. When you're coming out, it's going to be next to nothing, or it might be absolutely nothing. So just make sure you price in the difference. Coming back out, it's going to be rough. Now, this is because hurricanes can disrupt the supply chain, leading to a surge in demand for trucking services. When demand is high, carriers have more leverage to charge higher rates. Shippers who have been negotiating for lower rates from carriers may find that carriers are less willing to negotiate if there is a hurricane. The trucking industry has warned that they will raise rates if the market flips in their favor. Now, what I kind of wrote down here a little bit is that the NOAA, it's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, such as myself, I didn't know, but the official hurricane season is June 1st, and it goes through November 30th, all the way through November and into December. Now, the interesting thing this year is that they're saying there is an 85% chance of an above normal season for hurricanes. There's only a 10% chance of a near normal season, and only a 5% chance of anything that's going to be below normal. So that's definitely going to be in truckers' favor. We'll take what we can get. We're always averaging out. We're always trying to run and get the very best loads that are possible. If the market allows for that, we'll take the loads and we'll pivot. We'll get you around to Georgia, wherever it is, get you lined up with some loads. You're going to kind of take the very best during those market periods when you have those spikes, increases, whatever it may be. And if you don't want to get into those areas, just skip them all together. And the next story I wanted to cover with you guys would be the tightening capacity, because that's going to be, if these two things end up coming together, it would be absolutely fantastic. So here's what we got. What's kind of happening this summer in trucking, because I know everybody wants to know what's going on in the summer. And like I said, in the winter months, into very early spring, we were talking, look, it's going to be April, May, is going to be the time. And that's what it's kind of panning out to be. So while the trucking market isn't experiencing a dramatic shift just yet, that hasn't happened, there are signs that it's starting to tighten up in terms of capacity. So number of available trucks is being slowly reduced to more normal figures. And this is the reason why we're having this problem in the first place, coupled together with with other areas that are low. Like, for example, the tonnage, the available freight has been increasing, but is definitely low than where it was. And fuel prices are certainly much more expensive than they were at different times, over the last several years, like we want to say maybe 4 years, right? So this could be good news for carriers and owner operators down the line as these things kind of match up, especially if they match up with the hurricane season. Now, what we're going to look at is C.H.R, or at least as I pronounce it, the outbound tender rejection rate. It's on the rise. This is an index that tracks how often carriers reject loads, and every time a carrier rejects a load, either another carrier has to take it, or basically the broker will have to go to the customer and get more money, or find money off of another load, put it into that one to get that one moved. Figure it out later when the market changes how to move the other one for less money. So keep that in mind. So when a broker tells you that that's all I got in it, I don't have any more money in it, it's true, but highly unlikely in most scenarios. They can, and in fact, it's never true, because they can always call the customer and say, look, it's been really, really tough, but I got you one guy and he needs an extra $500. You know what I mean? He'll probably call it, $750 and keep the $250 difference, but that's his business. Now, here's the breakdown of what we're looking at this summer. C.H.R, this index, it looks at the rejection rate. And in this case, an increase in the OTRI suggests that carriers are becoming more selective about the freight that they accept. And furthermore, while we shouldn't expect, some sort of major boom, something happening overnight, nothing of that sense, the rise in OTRI, it doesn't guarantee a bonanza for carriers. But what it does say is that tougher times are coming for brokers and tougher times are coming for shippers, because in terms of finding trucks, compared to the recent past, things are going to be very, very different this summer. Shippers are told to beware of complacency fading, because it says here, experts warn that shippers who got used to a weak market where they could potentially dictate terms might need to adjust their strategy. So they kind of say it a lot nicer than I did. But carriers in the driver's seat saying that, potentially as capacity tightens, carriers might become more selective about the loads that they accept, and this could lead to increased bargaining power for higher rates in the future. So in this case, they're looking at summer. Whether that's going to be June, July, or August is up to interpretation. So we shall have to wait for that. So again, what it says here for carriers, that the market could be shifting slightly in your favor. As carriers gain more leverage, you might see an opportunity to negotiate for better rates. So, I'm all for that. I definitely, would love to see that. A lot of guys are struggling right now with the freight rates and taking what they can get. A lot of them, as we saw last week, that did extremely, extremely well. So we're very, very happy with that. But I'm very interested to see where things are going to, go into next week, into this coming week. And I usually get those numbers on Thursdays, and have a generally good idea about what's going on in the market week to week. That definitely helps. So very, very cool. Guys, again, I've been a little bit slow on the... Let me show you here. Been a little bit slow on our blog. This last one I did, I don't know if I've talked about it or not, but a lot of guys were asking about it. We have a couple articles that are a little bit similar, and it's actually talking about, was trucking worth it in 20... Yeah, let me go back. That is not what I wanted. It's one of the links. So a lot of folks were asking, is trucking worth it? We have another article about, for brand new guys, is it worth getting CDL, a CDL driver license? And, in most cases, depending on how you get it, it's going to be worth it to you as long as you're not tied down contractually to some organization that's going to whip you into shape. Don't do that. And then as far as the market trends for 2024, it does say that the trucking industry has undergone significant transformations over the years, with 2024 being no exception. Several key trends are reshaping the landscape, impacting how carriers and owner-operators conduct their business. Understanding these trends is essential to staying competitive and making informed decisions. 2024, several of the below key trends are the following, blah, blah, blah. Freight volume and rates. So the CAS index we've talked to you guys about in the past. This was maybe 3 or 4 videos back. 7.3% increase in shipments from January to February 2024. And while the volumes were lower year over year, this is still an improvement. We continue to see improvement in CAS in future months as well. And, we monitor those as well so we can kind of get an idea where things are going. As far as freight rates, they have been stabilizing. We've talked about this all the way from, last year. We've made some videos. Some people felt that were quite outlandish, but the CAS truckload line haul index is showing a slight increase from January, but a 5.4% decrease year over year. So again, it's January, but still we're seeing a decline overall. So we're still climbing out of this whole thing. This article is for those guys who are thinking about getting into the trucking industry, and it just talks about things generally. The other article primarily talks about is it worth it for CDL, for you to get a CDL as a brand new, basically, driver. And so those are all things that you may want to consider. Those are all things that you may want to look at before making some sort of final decision, things like that. Now, the final story I want to talk with you guys about is AI. We talked about this the other day. We talked a little bit more about it over the last few years, and I wanted to touch on this as well. Now, we got some comments here from Mr. Adam. Adam, are there more load options when hauling your own trailer versus finding a load in the freight market? So, Adam, are there more load options when hauling your own trailer versus finding a load in the freight market? So you're most likely going to find your load in a freight market. So under freight market, you're probably referring to a spot market, and having your own. So it's it's not 100% required to have your own trailer. There is a power-only market. Now, the power-only market generally is the largest market in the industry. It has been dwindling and generally slows down in the wintertime. Now, it also depends on how established and how new your MC authority is. You would need some additional insurances, things like that, in order to run those either trailer interchange or non-owned equipment coverages. And in that sense, you would still be in a spot market picking up loads off the spot market. So if you got your own equipment, or whether you're running a power-only market for example, load-out trailers or even towaways, you're more likely to make a lot more money when you have your own equipment, because you're going to be much more efficient. You're going to have a lot less headaches. You're not going to have issues with trailers. The lights don't work. The paperwork's not there. The plates aren't there. There's holes. For example, the reefers don't have reefer units. You have to take what you can get to get the trailer as close as possible to the delivery for the trailer. You have to go out and deliver the trailer. Problems, inspections, takes forever. Now you got to find yourself another trailer. There's bobtailing, there's deadheading. Overall, stay out of it. Now, if you got some drop and hook stuff that's identical, it's going to be going on like this for 300 loads a year, something that's local and regional, there and back, full miles, drop and hook, same thing over and over again, and it's at a good rate, go for it. That's great. Finding that is going to be a little bit tricky, but it is doable. So hopefully in some way I answered that question for you. Tex is saying, heck yeah, you get to pick the type plus more money. Power only limits a lot of things. Absolutely. So, and Tex knows too. He's got his own. He's got it vented. You couldn't take a power only trailer and go get it vented. It wouldn't make sense, because you have to bring it back in 5 to 10 days or a week or something like that. Some rental companies will allow you to vent it for them, as long as it is done in a certain way. You could take advantage of that, but that trailer, you're going to return it to them, and it's a benefit to the rental company. So certainly getting your own trailer, having that equity in that trailer, having the depreciation of that asset available to you to go against your taxable income, all those things are available to you that are not available when you're renting something. Now, you can deduct certain things, but I think generally having that equipment and being able to play the depreciation game and the equipment game, and like if you're making a ton of money and it's a really good market, you don't want to get to a point where you're having to pay 130, 140, 200, $300,000 in taxes to the U.S. government, when you could actually pivot and do some things that with equipment. Well, if you have a rental, then you're not going to be. If you're power only, you're not going to be able to do that at all. So there is that. Guys, AI is a big deal. AI is moving forward. It's moving by leaps and bounds. I was just talking last night with my brother, and I was saying, look, man, things are shifting so quickly. There are so many big names. There's so much talent. There's so much experience, computing wise, technologically wise, that are in the industry, that have been spending years in it, that are building these systems, that are putting together these systems to be able to get these trucks on a road and get them basically rolling without a driver, complete driverless, right? So to begin with, like the other day, I was watching a video where there was a Caterpillar equipment operator, and he was sitting like this, and they had a few monitors, and he was able to live switch from one piece of equipment to another, and then just operate it live out there on a job site while he was hanging out somewhere with computer screens. So something very similar is going to happen with trucks. It's going to be mainly driven by, driverless rigs, basically. And then there's going to be a guy who's going to be taking them off the freeways and on the freeways, and getting them through the streets and backing them into a door. Someone's going to have to come out and open those doors for the first little while. Someone's going to have to charge them. So there's going to be some positions for attendants and stuff like that. And then they're going to probably change the way that, trailers are loaded so that they can be approached with, automated and robotics and things like that, automated approach. So, yeah, it definitely looks like AI is going to be a huge thing in that, automation, in the robotics sphere. Is there a dual zone temperature zone reefer for both refrigerated and frozen loads? So you rarely, in the spot market, it's very rare that you're going to run into dual zone temperature control stuff. A lot of dual zone stuff is actually found a little bit further north to our neighbors in Canada. You're going to find a lot of those loads are over there, and you will have upwards of 3 to 4 chambers sometimes. These guys have very interesting equipment. It's a little bit different than what I've actually seen here in the States. You can get a reefer like that, more expensive. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can get, what do they call, bulkheads, things like that. You could separate, temperature-wise. They have multiple reefer settings. But the ones that I saw out of Canada, the guys have sent me some pictures, things like that. It was, but the trailer was a little bit different. The setup was certainly different. So back into trucking and AI. Automating routine tasks is going to be one of the things that is going to do. AI can automate many of the time-consuming tasks that truck drivers currently have to do manually. So we're talking scheduling, route planning, paperwork possibly. It'll be able to handle all of that for you guys. This would free up drivers to spend more time on the road, which could help improve productivity and efficiency. I do agree. If we can get help with that, absolutely, this would help a ton. There are some positive things here, and then I say it how it is. Some of these things I think are going to be a benefit and a positive thing for safety and improving driver safety. They're saying that AI can be used to provide real-time coaching to drivers, helping them identify and avoid potential hazards. So, for example, AI systems can monitor a driver's drowsiness levels and warn them when they need to take a break. Now, a lot of people don't like that. I know that that's the case. However, AI can also be used to automatically brake or steer the truck in the event of impending collision. Now, again, another area that they're jumping in, that they're not going to have a ton of truckers jumping onto this with the idea that the truck would steer, that the computer could steer the truck or brake for you. I don't like it. In my experience, in certain cars that have this technology, I didn't have the steering one, but the automatic braking one, the thing, kind of lost its mind for a second, and it thought that something was going to happen that wasn't going to happen. I wasn't even ready for it. It almost hit. Good thing I was wearing a seatbelt and holding on strong. I would have probably, cracked my noggin right on the steering wheel there. So, because of how violent it was, I didn't like that. I wouldn't like that. And the anxiety and anticipation that can happen at any point because the car thinks there's something popped up in front of it. No, I don't like it. But another thing they can do is optimizing truck maintenance. Now, this one I really did like because AI can be used to monitor truck performance live, like actively monitoring it. And it can predict when maintenance is needed. Now, that would be a game changer. This can help to prevent costly breakdowns and keep trucks on the road longer. AI can also be used to optimize fuel efficiency by suggesting the most efficient routes and driving patterns. Furthermore, something the articles didn't cover is that AI would be able to actually work with the ECM on the modern trucks, with the ECU, ECM, work with like the fuel rail system and I know I'm thinking more of automotive like gasoline engines, but maybe it wouldn't work this way with semi-trucks with diesel. But I'm sure something could be figured out where they can make it a lot more efficient. AI trucks should be illegal. That's the thing. A lot of people feel that way. I think it's not going to be so much AI driven, but it's going to be mainly with more automation, things like that. I think that what they're going to be doing is they're going to be actually setting up a system that acts like a human being. It actually watches the road and it sees it like a human and it interprets that data that way. Tesla has had some interesting things over the last, I want to say 6 months, ever since they had a major update to their Tesla software on the regular cars. They built the software a little bit different. And Elon actually did a live on X, and I watched a little portion of that. What was interesting there is they weren't teaching the system that this is a stop sign and you should stop in front of it. That they weren't saying like when you see people you shouldn't run them over. They things like that. That wasn't the case. What was really impressive is that the system was actually learning based on watching video footage of how to do things correctly, what's proper, and then what's improper, what's bad, and like what did the person do wrong here. And the system learned that way, like a child. It learned. So the way you put it is that there is not a line of code in the software that tells it to stop at a stop sign. Let's kind of put it that way. So something like that is very, very impressive. And I think that while this is going to be very disruptive to the industry, it may completely turn trucking on its head. That may be the case. But at the end of the day, there are certain things that AI, automation, technology, all these things would actually improve. Like if you got a system that's constantly monitoring the quality of your oil, the viscosity, how clean it is, and it might be able to get you a much better indicator than that little thing on there. It might be able to find some things like, hey, we got some metal shavings where we got in the oil, or hey, the coolant, we got coolant in the oil. Or vice versa, you got coolant in your diesel mixing. Having those things there in place, it could be just a matter of being able to have active like sensors and active systems that are watching these things and letting you know. And you would be happy with that because you might find out about that before you leave home or get not too far out. So you can turn around and come to a repair center that you've been working with that's near your home. That's not gonna rip you off. It's gonna give you a good price, and you can be certain in the quality of their workmanship, versus getting stuck somewhere OTR with a load on the on the back, and the mechanics are taking advantage of you because they know you're out of state and out of luck. So there's definitely some things they could definitely improve fuel efficiency, safety. They could learn about like potholes and problems on the road, and actually notify all the trucks that are driving, even if they have a driver inside of it, and then they could give you a notification. They could actually warn the driver about things that could never be communicated unless you were on the CB all day long, and most people don't even use it like they used to anyway. So that's kind of the one thing that I would say. There are definitely benefits to all of this stuff, and we could definitely see some improvement there in safety and those types of things. But I remember when I made a few videos on AI, not AI trucks, on automated trucks, on automation, and these electric trucks, things like that. A lot of folks were very upset in the comments, not at us or the video, but with the idea. And this was years ago. And now the technology has advanced so much more that it's absolutely incredible the kind of things that it's able to do. I watched a video of a Tesla vehicle, one of their cars, veer out from an accident. But the way that it did, I had to watch it several times, because the way that it did it, there's no way that we as people could have been able to do that, because we wouldn't have seen something past our field of vision. But because it's got all the cameras and it's got a really good idea, and it's not even the cameras, like the LiDAR and all the other technology that they got that senses what's around them, it was actually able to move the rear of the vehicle in such an interesting way that a human could do that, but they would have to know that that's actually happening to avoid the collision. So I think that if a person was driving, they probably would have gotten into that accident. But the car figured out and got them out of there. Now, there are other situations where the autopilot system goes berserk and loses its mind, so I wouldn't really trust it. But they have found that there's some folks are saying that it's dumber than an average driver, which is terrible. On the other hand, they're saying that the current most up-to-date Tesla system is 7 times better of a driver than your average driver. But considering when they did some sort of a study, I believe it was a national study many maybe decades ago, where they asked folks to rate themselves as a driver, and pretty much everyone rated themselves as being above average. So that's if everyone thinks they're above average, who but truckers know whether or not that's actually true when you guys are on the road putting on the miles every single day delivering these loads. You guys see all the with motorcycles, we call them cagers. They got a cage around them because they just don't see anything. But truckers also see that as well, because people are constantly cutting you off and doing stupid things. They drive like horses with blinders on. They have no idea of their dimensions or what's going on around them. And you guys certainly know all about that. Hey, how you doing, Sean? Sean Fairman. Did I say that right? Yeah, it looks like Sean Fairman in the house, checking in from Michigan. Hopefully you're having a good Sunday there. So we covered a few stories here. C.H. Robinson being downgraded as a company. This is going to have an effect in the trucking industry. This is going to have an effect for quick pay programs, because it's going to become more expensive for them to borrow money. Maybe the rates will decline with them. We also talked about the extreme hurricane season being a boon for truckers, and how this could disrupt the freight market. It could disrupt the supply chain, and it could create all sorts of problems that ultimately benefit the trucking industry. Also, within the same note, we did talk about the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration saying that from June 1st to the 30th, that's the official hurricane season. And this year, there's an 85% chance of an above normal season, and only a 10% chance of things being normal. Finally, we talked about the tightening of the trucking market in capacity-wise. So there are becoming less and less trucks. More companies are shutting down their doors. Less and less trucks are hitting the road. These are all things that we're all looking forward to for those of us who are planning to stay in the business and continue operating. That could be very good news for carriers, could be very good news for owner-operators, because rates would go up from there. Don't stop till you die. There you are. There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, there he is with the 4 trucks. Got a whole platoon there. Fantastic. And then the last thing we talked about is the AI in trucking. Some people agree, some people don't. Most people in the trucking industry don't want to have anything to do with it. They think it's a bad thing, and they want to stay away from that. A lot of folks in the truck industry don't even like with the new trucks with all the E.G.R valves and all the other, DEF and DPF filters and all this other stuff. They just want the plain old truck, 99 or older. So, there's definitely a lot can be said about that. As always, guys, I do want to bring this up again, just as a little refresher. We are a truck dispatch service. We are available to you guys. Been around forever. We've been around since basically truck dispatching was just coined. There was a handful of companies that were available at the time when we were opening up. They were very, very small companies. I was also a very small company, but I was the first one to actually start growing an organization, actually hiring dispatchers and growing past just one, being a dispatcher myself from the basement of my home. Started getting, office, things like that. We expanded. So overall, we've been in business for over a decade. We have very strong dispatchers who've been around for a long time, multiple up and down markets. They've seen it all. It's a very stressful time right now. The guys are turning themselves inside out. Carriers such as yourself, owner-operators, everyone's stressed out. They want more money. They want better rates. They want lighter freight. Brokers are, handling themselves in the worst possible ways, absolutely atrocious in many ways. We have dispatchers who are losing multiple loads on a daily basis for a single carrier, just trying to get them booked with some good freight. So it's really, really tough. So if you guys don't want to deal with that, we are available for that. If you want to get more information, right here, dispatch service is the one you want to fill out. You simply hit learn more, name, MC number, email address, and your phone number, and we'll get in touch with you. You'll get some stuff over email. We also have a really useful thing for carriers. So if you're a carrier and you're a new guy or a gal, but you're a new carrier, your MC is less than 1 year old, and you have not had your new entrant audit, we actually have a 4-page checklist that will give you all the questions that they're going to be on all the areas they're going to be verifying for you when they're doing a new entrant audit. Is the most important audit you're going to go through. It's super important that you pass it with flying colors. It's a 4-page PDF. You could print it out, and in parentheses, it's got little points. It's a point system. So the higher the points, those are the ones they're going to likely look into. And as I always tell everybody on the phone, if you go in for that and they see that you're well dressed, you have everything well put together, you've actually have the checklist, you've looked through all the stuff, and there is going to be it's going to be cake. You're going to go in, you're going to see that you're, a good, decent human being. You're taking this very seriously. You're going to pass. They're going to check a few things like the consortium or consortium for drug and alcohol. They're going to check whether or not you're with a clearinghouse, several different things that go through your e-logs, things like that. And most of the time after that, they're going to just let you go. So it's going to be absolutely fine. So if you need that, that's going to be available there. Also in that email where we can provide you guys most of the contacts and the steps necessary in order to obtain your special permits, which is going to be your, Kentucky, Oregon, New Mexico, California, Connecticut, New York, and that's it, right? So those 6 states right there, unless I missed one, Oregon. Yeah, that's it. And so, Connecticut now, and then, in New York. So we have most of those states. You can actually get in touch. There's some additional information about Oregon and how to be able to save some money and not have to constantly pay their Oregon bond or paying a bond company, an insurance provider, et cetera, et cetera. So there are some news there. No cost for you guys. We're not going to try to sell you anything, nothing like that. We're here to help you guys. If you decide that, hey, you know what, this is tough, I like the rates these guys are showing, I could run like the customers that they're showing, and I would make more money and I would have less problems. More power to you. Give us a call, get in touch. This is the box for you. Now for the lease on owner operators, same dispatcher, same everything. A very established, very clean, lease on outfit with 100% owner operators, and most likely much lower pricing than where you're going to find in other areas, and still work with the same exact dispatchers. If you have any questions, go to our free trucking videos page. This is the video for today. And every one of these videos, as you click them, and you can go through these pages, we got 19 pages. Each one's got a ton of videos on it. As you click these, they will show up here, and you can watch them or watch them on the page. So really, really do appreciate that for you guys. Some sort of, let's see what we got here. Are hybrid trucks or any other technology better than diesel and newer trucks? I'll tell you this, man. It depends what you mean by better. So Adam, what they've actually found, and for example, PepsiCo was the very first ones to be able to take the first Teslas, and they were very disappointed. They actually had to switch gears with it. The spokesperson, the people representing Pepsi, actually spoke a little bit out of line in areas that they weren't supposed to discuss, and they were basically showing how unhappy they were with the performance of the equipment that they ended up getting. They basically couldn't pull. The battery capacity was terrible, and it got even worse during the cold months when they received them in the winter, I believe. And so they had to, reposition and only basically run them as local trucks, which is crazy because other areas have found that, other studies, other reports have found that it can cost as much as 500% more to acquire the truck, just the acquisition aspect of that. Now, you do save on fueling because of electricity, and huge amount of money saved on maintenance. So, it depends what you need. So it may take a number of years at today's prices to be able to actually break even and make it worthwhile. But of course, you're going to be there. There's also, if it is going to be helping the environment, which again, I'm not 100% sure on that because of the environmental cost to building these trucks in the first place and the batteries and all this stuff. And then whatever happens afterwards in terms of recycling, who knows? Generally speaking, most of these products cannot be recycled or reused. So, it's a toss-up at this point, so it's tough to say. He also said, Adam also said, Out of Spec channel is reviewing new trucks and cars at technology show. Okay, yeah, very cool. Yeah, so probably, what is it, ECS or the electronic, that's the consumer show. Yeah, they have the Consumer Electronics Show. Thanks for all you do, Vitaly. Hey, thank you for spelling my name right. Ali Rowe. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man. I'll be signing up with your dispatch service in a very near future. I look forward, man. Let us know. Would love to do that. We'll get you connected, man. Whatever you need, if you need help or anything like that, anything that we can help with, if we can, we'll do it. So get in touch with us. We're all available. I really appreciate that. Tex Williams saying, good choice, Ali. You will not be disappointed with them. Thanks a lot, Tex. I really appreciate it. Tex has been with us for a good little while now, and he's really found a good partner with one of our dispatchers named Andy. He takes his job very, very seriously, and it's just been really awesome to watch these two work together. And so we have a lot of dispatchers like that, but it's really cool when people really click, because sometimes people don't click. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's great, but sometimes they don't click. And in those situations, please communicate with me, because it could be just a simple personality clash. All of my dispatchers are amazing, very experienced, very strong. Some, obviously much more experienced than others, but we will get you set up based on your needs and what would be, the very best approach for that. So thank you so much for that, Ali. Thank you so much for that text. MS is saying, I was told by one driver that shippers use all the robots for loading. So there's been happening a lot, So there are some facilities where it's all fully automated, fully robotic. There are some Amazon warehouses that some of our drivers were actually in, and even the BOLs were electronic. There was no one there. There was one person at the guard check, and that was it. And they couldn't answer any question. They didn't know anything. So there is a lot of that happening. Now, California, in terms of drayage, is using full automation technology where they actually have trucks, multiple trucks, driving constantly. They're watching each other. They're stopping. They're backing in. They're getting loaded. They're replacing the trailers or the bulk, the what are they called? The containers that they're putting on the chassis, and those things are driving and doing all the stuff, and there's other machinery that's also automated, picking these things up, moving them around. So a lot of that is happening in drayage as well. Port work is seeing a ton of that type of work. So, I'm pretty sure we're going to see some of that with new arms that are being created for intermodal, so that they can actually load this type of stuff on an automated basis onto trains as well. Texas saying, I've only seen robots in Niagara, Water, and at JCPenney's. Yeah, so it's starting to go through. It's starting to happen. We're going to see a lot more of that in Amazon. A lot of folks have already seen that in Amazon. Walmart is starting to move in that direction as well. And MS is saying, yes, a water company has definitely seen that as well. Not a bad experience. Smooth loading with those robots, as far as Tex has seen. And then Adam is saying that there are fuel cell trucks out there, hybrids, biodiesel, hydrogen, and clean diesel trucks at the show. So, Adam, you're probably talking about MATS, right? The Mid-America Trucking Show. So they did bring a few things. I believe it was Kenworth who was bringing a truck with, I forget, was the NX 150 motor or something like that was running on natural gas, and that was very impressive because it gave very similar torque and horsepower figures as the similar diesel engine semi truck. So that was very interesting. Now, what they also found is that they're able to use in many cases biodiesel, and biodiesel is or renewable diesel or something like that. And what they actually found is that they can achieve a net negative. So what it means is that you can actually do a positive thing for the environment. So you have water coming out of your tailpipe. So they found that. They've also found that they're able to use other renewable types of sources. The whole thing with hydrogen, it's probably going to be the fuel choice of the future is going to be hydrogen. Very cheap to produce, expensive and difficult to compress, but they're going to figure that part out, and that's going to be the fuel cells. And those fuel cells are going to be your, put in a fuel cell, get 350 miles, get to your next one, pop one out, put the next one in. There you have it. That's how it's probably going to be. With semi trucks, they could create on-demand systems, but those generally, at least now, they don't produce enough HHO gas in order to make a significant difference on an engine with such a huge displacement and such a requirement. But they're probably going to be using that technology nonetheless. So I would say that fuel cells is the way to go. They're going to be some sort of hybrid systems like the Canadian guys at those tree logging guys at Edison out in Canada. Edison Motors. So, and biofuels, we're already using that. The United States is actually leading in terms of renewable biodiesel and other types of mix-ins that they're doing. In fact, the diesel you're actually using right now has recently, as of it's been about 6 months maybe, that they've actually added to increase higher amounts of biodiesel into the diesel that you're actually putting into your trucks nationwide. So that's already changed. Now, a lot of people complain saying that diesel doesn't burn as well and isn't as efficient and doesn't do as good of a job. But again, I don't know, if that's the case or not. So I don't know. But I will say this: what I do know is that if you guys want to work with the strongest dispatchers, the very, very best in the industry, that's our guys right there. That is our guys. You will. Let me move the screen here. You will not be disappointed. And I explained this to a lot of people in a little bit different way. I'll tell you this is the last thing, and we'll play some good music. For those of you guys who stuck around to the very end of this video, I really do appreciate it. It's going to be a short show, but I got a good track. So for those of you guys in the comments and the chat and the live right now, thank you for sticking around. If you could smash the like button, that would really help a ton. But here's something that I tell a lot of folks that call in. See, most people, they look at it and say, okay, well, what do you charge for dispatch services? And I say 7%. Oh, well, that's a little bit high. Okay, well, look, I used to charge 10% without a problem, and I actually used to sign a lot more customers than I do now with a much more mature company with a lot more agents working. Nonetheless, and back then I was the only one working in terms of customer acquisition and taking care of stuff and paperwork and running the business, right? And I also had dispatchers who were dispatching the loads. But nonetheless, it was a lot easier back then than it is today. Now, today, people are looking at it from a perspective of, well, 7% is a lot of money. Nonetheless, what they don't realize is that even if we get them to a point in the worst case scenario of breaking even and making the same exact money dollar for dollar, think about it. You got the same loads. You didn't have to call a ton of brokers. You didn't have to negotiate. You didn't have to stress over it. You didn't have to eventually, when you got the load, filling out the packets, calling your insurance company, getting the insurance certificate with the right certificate holder information, sending that over, running a credit check, making sure that's been taken care of. So I'm not doing these things in order, but obviously there's a ton of stuff you have to do. Then you get the stuff, you have to deal with brokers, get the rate con, sign it, send it back in, blah, 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 blah. Oh man, I forgot. I was hungry. I wanted to eat. Oh, I got to run now. So the point is that you have this availability of being able to, to kind of untie your hands. If you got to go take care of business, eat, whatever, shower, do some laundry, whatever you got to do, the guys are working in the background. They're there like hawks. They're watching the loads. We got our own connections. We have a shared inbox where all the dispatchers are in the same inbox. We're seeing the loads. We're seeing the stuff that's coming in privately. We're seeing stuff that's coming in from freight forwarders, although not much. We're seeing a lot of stuff. Plus, we get a lot of loads that come in, like, for example, very early in the morning, or at other times, we'll get lists of loads that will come in. These loads are timed, so they don't actually hit the market yet. So what happens is we have a bit of time to be able to negotiate and actually get back on those specific loads that generally have more meat on their bones, okay? After that, whatever's left, the brokers take it and they throw it onto the spot market for the rest of you guys. Okay, so that's the way that functions. So you have to be aware that if you're able to get 20 cents here, 30 cents there, it looks like Christopher Lovelace has followed us on Facebook. Thank you so much for that, Christopher. Really appreciate it. And so what happens is you get 20, 30 cents here, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. And then also consider how you're going to be running. Some of the loads might be lighter. Some of them might be more heavier, and you might normally not want to take it. But then you might talk to the dispatcher and it says, listen, we're going to get you out of this crappy market for this is a heavier load, but you're going to be able to get out for really good money. Considering the market you're going into, this is a really good market, and we're going to get you out of there for good money. You start working, you start listening, you start talking to your dispatcher. They start running around, and then the proof is in the pudding. Once you start having 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks consistently, you're going to be in better mood. You're doing less work. You're getting paid. Your factoring company's paying you. The money's depositing. Everything's running smoothly. And then you're going to look back and say, why didn't I do this sooner? And in fact, Tex was saying this. And there's a comment from Tex saying, with C.H. Robinson Downgrade News, I think it would be beneficial for folks telling about how factoring could cut them out. Absolutely. Owners should be aware of the valuable information. You're absolutely right, Tex. That's a very good point. Factoring companies, you have to remember that factoring companies, when you get set up with them, they give you a credit line. They do the same exact thing for brokers, and brokers will run up that credit line a lot faster than you will. So a lot of people get super excited when a factoring company comes back to them and says, we give you a $100,000 credit line. Well, that's fantastic. A single truck owner operator is not going to hit $100,000 in a month, but it does certainly sound nice. But the factor knows that you're not going to use up that line, so it's just it really doesn't mean anything. Now, it's a totally different story for a broker, because a broker like TQL might have, I don't know, a few $1 million worth of loads on a daily basis, moving hands, right? Trading. And let's say you have a small factor, right? Let's say you're not working with like a large factor. Another factor called you, you really like the agent, they give you a good deal, there was nothing bad, and you decided to get started with them, and you're getting great service, like you have no complaints or anything like that, but suddenly you're noticing that some of your loads are not getting factored, passing credit check, and you're like, man, it was always good. Why is that? Well, the reason for it is that when you have a small factoring company, they're certainly not as stable, and they cannot take as big of a hit as another company. So what they do is they have their own days to pay, and they have their own aging invoices. Their receivables are aging, and so what they might have is, let's say, a $200,000 credit line for broker X, right? But that broker is currently sitting at, let's say, $192,000, and you're coming in with another few $1,000, and so that factor is overexposed because he has all his eggs in one basket. Now he's going to have other brokers that he's going to be waiting on, and waiting on the payments, but they could go out of business, because if that broker goes out of business, or they take forever to pay, the factor has bills to pay and all this other stuff, and they're giving you these deals super cheap so that you will sign up as a customer. And so what they do is they cut off that, and they say no more invoices until they pay down some of this debt here. And then who gets beat up from that? It's going to be you. You're going to be working with a really good company, but you can't work with them because your factor won't approve them. So yeah, you could wait on the invoice, but the truth is then you actually need to do some paperwork, because now you have, because there's a schedule of accounts, there's a notice of assignment, and the receivable is set to be assigned to your factor, because your factor is to pay you. So now what you actually have to do is get your factoring company to look at your balances, and as long as the balances have been settled and paid off, in that situation, they're actually going to send a letter of intent to leave. It's a letter of release, an LOR, and then that gets sent out to the accounts payable of that said broker. And then you keep your fingers crossed, hoping that those people will read their email and will actually take the few minutes to update the document, so that legally now the broker can actually pay you rather than your factoring company. Usually that doesn't happen in time, and you lose the load. Okay, so a bigger factoring company is going to be able to take a bigger hit. But as soon as a factoring company decides that they're not going to take these loads, then you're going to be completely out of luck. And I think what Tex is saying is that this downgrade, with the news of that, it would be good for people to know that factoring companies could cut them out. And that could be the case, because what we may see is that D2P, days to pay, is a number of days that it has taken a broker to actually pay the factoring company, to pay their customer, which is the carrier, right? And so, but since you and I, we don't really report on that information. So it's either self-reported or it's through large companies that do report because they do share their AR and AP data. So that's how you get your your factoring information. And a lot of factoring companies share the databases in order to get the data. So you are participating or partaking as part of a shared database of companies. But nonetheless, the running total for the factoring company is always going to be different for each factoring company. Some are going to be larger, others are smaller, and it's going to be a mix of things. Tex also said that try opening yourself more to the market, Ali. You will find AFT can be an enhancement to your business. And let's see, Ali has said, I'm located in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I hope to run just in the Northeast, running flatbed only. My MC is only 60 days old, but I have over 2 decades of trucking experience. Keep me loaded and get you 7%. Ali, so I have to side with Tex on this one. And when you talk with myself or Alex, we're going to tell you the same thing, my friend. So the good news is that you're on the East Coast. We're going to be able to run you around and make you some decent money out there. That's not a problem. We had carriers. We were able to handle that for them. But like Tex said, you may want to become a little bit more open-minded in terms of the market areas that you're covering because you're limiting yourself quite a bit. Plus, this is going to depend on what kind of a flatbed you got, what type of equipment you got running. Is it 48? Is it 53? Are you willing to tarp your loads? The majority are going to require tarping if you want to make good money. Additionally, you have to remember a 60-day MC as good as it's not worth anything at this point. You know what I mean? The very beginning, first when you start getting a little taste of what's going on is at 90 days. After that, it's 180 days. Then it's 1 year. The last resort is going to be 2 years. Past that, you're going to be able to work with anyone. So, but generally, you're going to start seeing your first 90 days. So right now, you're in a tough spot. You don't have references. You don't have example loads. Your MC is brand new. You may or may not have passed probably haven't even touched your new entrant audit. You may or may not have your permits. We can get you those. I would work on those as well. I'm sure you have your HUT permit, but you may want to explore other areas and maybe get your KYU in Kentucky. You may want to explore different weights, different types of freight, different markets. And this is the time when you're brand new, your first year, is to try everything while also staying conservative. But you have to try everything. You have to go out there, man, and you have to not set limitations, but be willing to go out there and not just say, I've been working really hard as a truck driver. I have 20 years of experience. No one cares about that. Brokers don't know. Brokers didn't drive your truck. They don't understand the difference between a guy who's, is on his very first load and a guy who's been doing it for 20 years. They don't care. They just want their money. They should care, but they just want their money. Who really cares is the customer. Those people want their product shipped out there. But right now, you shouldn't be setting so many limitations, and because you're setting yourself up for failure in that sense. Tex also says, spot on with the factoring company info. Owners need to be more aware of the risk with factoring. Absolutely, 100%. Tex, definitely. Thank you so much for that. Now, Twister is saying that hybrid and EV stuff is too expensive and costs more for the insurance also. So very dangerous and unproven. And the weight of the hybrid system is it's very heavy. Is too much for profit ratio. Okay, so I understand what you're saying. So just keep safe diesel like China, Russia, and India. So and then that's true too. A lot of those countries are actually continuing to operate on diesel, and at the end of the day, most of those electric trucks get charged at stations who are running either diesel generators or they're this is coming from some sort of coal plants or some sort of other environmentally dangerous whatever energy production. So that there is no free energy. You can, those batteries have to get charged somewhere, and for that we're having to burn some coal. So that's how that works. Ali is saying, I hear you, Tex. I own all my equipment, so no overhead there. Running the full length of I-95 is an option that I'm open to. I also hear Vitali 48 by 102. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, let's definitely discuss it, man. Anytime tomorrow. Let's get in touch. We can look at some loads. We can look at what you're making. What kind of rates you're getting, what kind of miles you're running, kind of deadhead. Maybe it's just a matter of optimization. You're not in a bad area. I mean, I know Pennsylvania, nobody wants to, we have guys who don't want to even go to Pennsylvania because of the parking problem, the parking shortage. But the Northeast is awesome. I've always been a fan, and oftentimes during really bad market conditions, the Northeast will actually be booming. So it's going to be definitely interesting as the weather starts to warm up and the market starts to switch over. With flatbed, this might be the way to go. Wish it was a 53-footer. But 48 will do. So thanks so much, Tex, and excellent partner. Keep the rubber side down. Good luck to Ali, Twister, Adam Buser, everybody, GRE, Sean Fairman, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by. Super, super awesome. I got a little bit of a track here for you guys. Finish up a little early today. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the rest of the weekend. If you don't mind, please do me a favor. Hit the like button on this one. Let's get this video out there. Hopefully people will get value out of it. At any point, if you guys have questions, call, text, or go to our website. Our phone number is right there, 801-448-6363. Call or text, or go to our website, aftdispatch.com. And until next week, guys, I'll see you guys on Friday. We're going to be doing a lot more videos with Alex. We're going to be doing probably not so many shorts as I thought I would, but probably some more videos. I'm going to be working with him so he can be producing some videos as well. And we'll definitely, if you guys have ideas, stuff like that, comment form. On our website here, whatever, if there's areas you want us to explore, look at some data, things like that, you want me to, graph breakdown, anything like that, I would love to. I enjoy that kind of stuff. So definitely appreciate it, guys. And for now, let me play this track and sign out. So thank you so much. Let's see here. You got a text. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so very much. I thought I'd go a little funky with you guys. Something a little different this time. As the youngins would say, this slaps. Thanks for stopping by, Twister. Thank you so much, sir. Take care. I gotta tell you, I'm not too familiar with curtain size. We don't dispatch them. Conestoga's curtain size. It's awesome you have your S-Corp since '96. It's fantastic. But unfortunately, I'm probably the wrong person to talk. What we normally do is vans, reefers, and flat.